I'm Valerie Mahaffey, and you're listening to You Might Know Her From with Damien and Ann.
Folks, happy Thursday. It's Thursday, or whenever you're listening to this. Do you know we release this show at 1 a.m. on Thursdays? We do. Welcome to another episode of You Might Know Her From with Damien and Ann.
I am Damien.
I'm Ann.
If you haven't listened before, this is our little show where we talk about pop culture stuff. We talk about our friendship. We talk about our aging bodies. And then, of course, we talk to a brilliant actor smack dab in the middle of our BS.
We were talking about this a few weeks back, and I just wanted to update you because I am up to speed now, and I have watched all 6 episodes of Real World Homecoming, the reunion of the original season of The Real World New York from 1992, I believe, 1992. So Damien had watched it. He said, I don't want to talk to you until you finished watching it. So let me just tell you, I finished watching it. I loved it. For me, it was like episodes 1 through 4 were thrilling, and episodes 5 and 6 were a little bit of a letdown.
Was 5 or 6 like when it was like Norm going to the art store?
Yeah, they went to Blick. And
I was like, charmed by it, but it was like boring.
Did they buy him art materials, art supplies? I really loved it. Obviously, that part, I don't know, like, I would guess I was 9 years old when I was watching it, but it was very important to me. And the drama that went down was high drama. Let me just tell you my takeaways. Obviously, Becky is unwell, insane. I can't believe she agreed to do that. I also didn't remember how obnoxious she was in the first season.
Me either.
And listening to her talk about having a conversation with John Lennon was fascinating. I loved Kevin. I loved Heather B, obviously. Julie, as you said, is a star. And honestly, she is impeccable. Julie is very cool. She turned out to be very cool. And I'm like oddly very attracted to her as like whatever she is, a 49-year-old woman. I was like, she is beautiful. I love how she carries herself. I love her general vibe. Yeah. I'm just into it.
It's no surprise, Anne.
Okay. Well,
she radiates warmth, which I think was true also of the original iteration, yes. But
she was 19 years old and had never met anyone who was black.
Right. Correct. But I think I found her sort of kindness or warmth then cloying. And I also found the show's positioning of her and Eric as romantic foils.
Yeah.
Annoying and expected, probably because I felt other, so I was annoyed by that. And now as an adult, I was like, oh, she and Eric both are have the same star quality that they did as 19-year-olds, but it worked for me this time because I was like, oh, I don't have a chip on my shoulder about who I think they are. They seem like they know who they are pretty well. And Eric, as we've talked about, Eric playing with crystals and being a healer, I was like, this would have been annoying to me, but you know what? He seems very okay.
Yeah, and I feel like the people that I do that I like most, Heather B and Kevin and Julie are all still very into Eric, so I feel like that speaks well of him. Even
totally
though
agree.
He was via Zoom for COVID. It was pretty depressing. But yeah, I was very into how Kevin approached coming back into the show, because if I were him, I don't know if I would have wanted to come back. But then the stuff with Becky was just so disappointing from her over and over, and her pushing back about being the poster girl for white privilege. I was like, it's kind of exactly what you're doing over and over and over. She couldn't stop herself. It was pretty disgusting.
She really couldn't. She got so defensive, which I think was the crux of the entire argument, was just listen. And when Norm was shut up, and then she took that as such a personal offense, and it seems like they have a real friendship ground. And then Julie was like, I'm not even really friends with her. Heather B and Julie are best friends, and Norm and Becky are best friends. And
yeah,
I was just really fascinated by the dynamics, and it seems like they've all maintained some level of in-touchness.
Yeah, I found myself really crying in the first episode a lot. I don't know. It just brought back some rush of something for me. And obviously, here's the thing I was thinking about. In the early 2000s, I was rolling my eyes at people that were 10 to 15 years older than me, going to Def Leppard reunion concerts and NKOTB reunion concerts, and being this is so sad. This is so obviously playing on nostalgia, and that's why they rebooted My Little Pony in 2010, so that people that were our age that loved it when they were kids now have kids, and of course they're going to buy it for their kids. I totally fell prey to all of it. It's I understand. I want to go see the Backstreet Boys right now. I was crying over The Real World Homecoming. It is what happens when you hit your mid-30s. Now I'm on the tail end, approaching 40, and it's whew, the nostalgia hits real hard.
Yes. I've been listening to some old music for no reason. And when I say old, I mean like old music that's like reminds me of a specific time in my life. So I was listening to the Venga Boys the other day because
Did you ever like listen to the Venga Boys in earnest though, or like
no,
they were just around? The Venga Boys were just happening.
I went to Disney World with my family in 9th grade, and that song, we went to Pleasure Island. That's what it's called, right? Or I don't know. It's like
I think Treasure Island. I think Pleasure Island is like a sex shop on the side of I-70.
Yeah. So Treasure Island, whatever it's called, it's like it's like a strip of restaurants and like bars, and the band Five, the boy band, were performing their one song, When the Lights Go Out.
Oh, Five isn't the F like the number five and five?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. I couldn't tell you what they sang, but I do know how their name is written.
When the lights go out, everything.
Okay, yeah, that I know.
So that they performed live. I was like so into it. I was like, oh my god, it's like my third concert. I was like keeping a tally in my head. It was one song, and then the Venga Boys, We Like to Party came on, and that became like in my head the unofficial theme song of that whatever trip to Florida. And so then I like loved that song forever for a long time. And then I studied abroad. This is a very Becky story. So then I studied abroad, and I went to GAY Astoria, which was like the GAY gay club, warehouse club in London. And the Venga Boys did a reunion concert there, and I went, and I had a fucking bomb time. They don't they don't do anything, and also like they don't even look that good. Also, like it was only 2 of the original members, but I was like, oh, I like love these 6 songs. So I know like the 6 quote unquote singles of the Venga Boys. So I was listening to them the other day. I've been playing them a lot for the dog, and then that led me to listening to a lot of like Ace of Base, and I've been listening to a lot of like I don't think the Venga Boys are disco, but they're sort of like they're dance, and I think that I'm really interested in these machines that literally doesn't matter who the front people are. It's like somebody makes great songs, and then they're like, hey, you're like a young model who can just like you can tour this song for 40 years, and just all you do is lip sync to a studio singer.
I'd love it if somebody did that for us.
I don't think that Ace of Base...
But don't you remember... No, Ace of Base, they were real singers. They're Swedish pop stars. But here's the thing. I can't, in good faith, recommend listening to Ace of Base anymore because my friend Nicholas Brothers told me that they have some skinheads in their history. So I can't recommend Ace of Base. The man, the like hot guy that was always like... He was the talk singer.
Yeah.
No, I think the talk singer is the hot guy is the one that was like a neo-Nazi, and so
that's not the brother because I didn't realize it's Ace of Base.
It's not the brother.
Ace of Base is 3 siblings and then another man who apparently is a neo-Nazi, which I didn't know. This is news to me right now.
Yeah, and they were like Ace of Base never stood for any of this, but I don't know that I can recommend it, but I did go down a real wormhole with them, and I was like, their harmonies are good. The sisters are very talented. I'm like sexually attracted to both of them, and that's confusing because I didn't think I would be. Anyway, I love Swedish pop music. Speaking of like styles of music that I adore, I mean, Swedish pop music is some of the best.
Do you think that, who else was probably a skinhead? The male component of Aqua.
Oh, I don't even know what he looks like.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party.
Yeah. Okay, so that was like a type. That was like a type of man in those groups. There was also, do you remember the Real McCoys? They did that cover of Come and Get Your Love. Yeah. And then the guy was like, come and get your love. Come and get your love. Come and get your love now.
Yeah,
that was like a position you could have played. I don't know. I'm telling you, like it's sports. That's a role you could have played in the group. I loved Aqua. That was very good. So, but you're right. They might. I'm going to look up their. Look, we can't say that they have a skinhead if we don't know it.
No, we can't. We
can't go put it out into the universe. Okay, we're going to fact check it. Look in the show notes. You'll find out whether or not there's a skinhead in Aqua if you check the show notes.
So, we're always asking for you to send us DMs and emails and texts and tweets and in your reviews to leave names of guests that you would like for us to interview. It's a real full circle moment this week because the name on everybody's lips is Valerie Mahaffey. She was she was requested
multiplicity.
A lot of y'all were asking for Valerie. She has been in high demand everywhere, but certainly here at this podcast for sure. So we were so delighted to score this interview. She's like having the best moment, and I love having actors when they're having either a breakthrough moment or they're having some sort of renaissance. And I feel like of course Valerie should be working and getting all the roles. She's incredible. So I'm so happy we were able to score this interview, and so happy we were able to score it for those of you that have been clamoring for it.
You might know her from French Exit,
Dead to Me,
Big Sky,
Northern Exposure,
The Powers That Be,
Jungle to Jungle,
and Desperate Housewives. It is a big day for us here at You Might Know Her From because on our show today, we have Emmy-winning actress Valerie Mahaffey. Valerie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So we're thrilled to be chatting with you this week, mere days before the Independent Spirit Awards. You were, of course, nominated for your beautiful performance in Azazel Jacobs' film French Exit. By the way, for our listeners, you've also been busy appearing on the ABC crime drama Big Sky, and you have recurring roles on the CBS sitcom Young Sheldon and the Netflix series Dead to Me. As we know, you've been working professionally for 4 decades, but to us it feels like you're having this real moment right now. Does that ring true to you?
Yes, it does. There's sort of times in an actor's life when it just feels like, ugh, okay, I'll stick with it, but I'm not sure I wanna. I'd rather go sew something. And then it got real good again. I'm lucky. And how weird is it that I got really busy during the pandemic? It's just like,
It's insane. It's insane.
What? So I'm a lucky girl. It was a little stressful filming Big Sky during pandemic time in Vancouver, but never mind. Did it. It was fun. Sort of. Part of it. Well, I mean, the pandemic wasn't fun and all the stuff that came along with that, but
right.
Made friends anyway.
Well, I just was floored by your work in French Exit as Madame Reynard, an expat widow living in Paris who is desperate to connect with Michelle Pfeiffer when she and her son moved to the City of Lights. The tone of the film is a little droll, and without giving too much away, it also veers into the supernatural a little bit. You are just terrific, and in this sort of bizarre universe, you deliver a really grounded, sweetly heartbreaking performance. How did you find the unique tone of this piece?
Even before the pandemic, I was kind of going through this existential dread. I don't know why. I've been a happy girl all my life. My mother used to call me Pollyanna. I don't know. And I got real like, oh, is this how people feel sometimes? Kind of depressed, kind of sad. So I was in that, and it also made me, what would the word be? Ungenuine? But I got super caring that I would be authentic. So when I was talking to Aza about that character, I said, I don't want her to be silly. I don't want her to be, oh, here comes the silly one. I wanted her to be absolutely true. And people have said it was funny, but that was sort of beside the point for me.
Wasn't this an offer? Did Aza bring this role to you? What had he seen of your work?
Yes. I still don't know. I know that he making a collection of actors from Seinfeld. He was all excited about that Tracy Letts had been on Seinfeld. He'd worked with, I can't remember who else, but me.
Yeah.
And that can't have been the only thing. But he offered it to me. And someday I'll have a conversation with him, say, okay, how come? But I'm awfully glad. And
right.
I love that guy. And Lucas, you're probably going to ask me questions about that. But anyway, I love that boy. He's just terrific.
He's very good, but I have no questions about Lucas Hedges. I'm mostly excited to talk to you about your work, but also
all right.
You have this sort of insanely prolific career, but it feels like there's this turning point. You've been getting a lot of attention. Have you felt a shift in your career since French Exit?
Yes. And also, frankly, since Dead to Me. And it was startling to me because I keep thinking, well, I'm doing the same damn thing I've always done. But now people were very excited about my performance in Dead to Me for some reason. And it baffled me a little bit. Because I thought, well, where were you all? Haven't you noticed how good I am? but how great, too,
It is interesting because, look, for Damien and I, that show was like a big thing that we talked about, too. So it was nice that there were all of these sort of credits for yours that came in succession.
Yes. Just wonderful. I'm very happy about it all. I want it to keep going like this. That would be excellent.
So let's talk about Dead to Me. This is the Netflix dark comedy. You star as Lorna Harding, Christina Applegate's at times unkind mother-in-law. The show is totally buzzy, in the zeitgeist. So question is, does Lorna feel like a departure in the ways in which you are sometimes cast? And do you think that Lorna hates Jen, or is she just misunderstood?
I think Lorna is such a narcissist that she doesn't really hate anybody. It's just that it's all about her. And if she's mean, oh well, people will fall by the wayside. She probably thought Jen was not nearly good enough for her son. But, and what a trip to get to play. It is a departure for what I usually get to do. And to get to be mean like that, to let that part of yourself out. As actors, boy, are we ever lucky to have a safety valve to let that out in our, she was so much fun to play. And I didn't necessarily know how fun it was going to be until we started doing it. And Christina and Linda and I, in that first season, I came on in episode 3, I think. We still didn't know what the show was. We didn't quite know what we were doing, which was kind of great because life isn't all planned out. I mean, certainly, if you're an actor and you're in a movie, you know how it's going to end and you have to make it seem like it's a surprise every day. But that show felt kind of like a surprise every day. That was kind of cool.
Did you know Liz Feldman again? Like, how did this piece come to you? Because I think we're sort of used to seeing you sometimes get cast as sort of very sweet, sometimes unassuming. It was a real thrill to see you play sort of dark and a little evil.
Yes. Here's the thing, you guys. Can I just say this? Both Abe Sylvia and Liz Feldman, and then Aza, when people, directors and producers, when they let you know from the get-go that they think you're fabulous, I don't think they can fake it. But if they let you know that, the relaxation that happens, and you can start to just, stuff occurs to you. And you have a freedom that you don't have. You always have a plan, you have to, because it might be tense on the set, or you might be finding it, and you have to have a plan. But when they give you the freedom of thinking you're wonderful, it's much looser, and things happen that you didn't plan. It gives you a freedom. If you know somebody thinks that you're good, then you're like, oh, phew, okay. In fact, I said to Abe Sylvia, good, I can be shitty now. Because I will retrieve it. You've already seen me be good.
You've had a very successful television career. You won an Emmy for Northern Exposure. You landed an Emmy nomination for The Doctors. But 2 of our favorite credits of yours are little lesser known sitcoms. The Martyr Kaufman, David Crane show, The Powers That Be, and the Linda Bloodworth Thomason's Women of the House. So Women of the House was a spinoff for Delta Burke's Designing Women character, Suzanne Sugarbaker. And the series was sort of, from my memory, a sort of a breaking of the bread moment between Linda and Delta after Delta had exited Designing Women, sort of shrouded in controversy. So was that experience on that set like an intense one because there was so much media coverage and whatnot?
I probably was on the periphery of that, so I'm not going to be able to give you anything terribly juicy. But I do know that Delta, I think she was trying very much to make peace. And she told me at one point she was so scared, and she was just, her face was shaking or something. I'm getting it wrong now. It was quite a long time ago. But she was just so nervous to be back with the Bloodworth Thomasons and wanted to make good. And I think it was very hard for her, the nervousness of it all.
I feel like that was big 90s controversy at the time, but it was great to see you do that.
Sure.
Because then Damien, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so the show also starred Terry Garr, Patricia Heaton. Your role was originally cast with Julie Haggerty, who then had to quit because she had a prior commitment, so you replaced her. But then she came back at some point and did like 2 episodes, and then but this is my understanding, and then quit. And then you came back, but then they wrote your character off. And I was like, I watched this show and I was trying to remember, and I was like, was this wild, Valerie?
That is not accurate, but
tell me the internet.
Not say no. I probably can't. It was wildish. I've had wilder. Yeah, it was good, and I love all those gals, and yeah, it was good. It was not very long for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Ask me about the other one.
Yes. Okay. So let's go to The Powers That Be, which was about a political family in D.C. where Holland Taylor was your mother and David Hyde Pierce was your husband, and I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt was your son. This show has a cult following online and obviously spawned a bunch of TV stars. Like, what was the best part of that, somewhat short-lived experience?
Oh, the best part was kind of all of it. Getting to know Marta and David was great, but Norman Lear also was part of it. And Norman he's not just showbiz, he's like this really wise, wonderful person. So Norman's one of those people. And then David Hyde Pierce, I love David so much. Peter Mcnichol was so funny. There would be moments when we'd watch a run through, I'd be choking laughing at what Peter would do. And then I got to play such a twit. She was so politically incorrect because she was a little stupid, really, and spoiled. And I remember one time we had an episode where there was an argument about, oh, you can't do that. But I brought up the All in the Family card because Norman was there. And it was this thing where my character, there was a congressman or something who was in a wheelchair who shows up, and my character said something terrible, like and I'm not going to say it now because now people will be mad at me, but she said a wrong word for a physically challenged person.
Yeah.
Like, who's who showed up here? And they said, oh, we can't do that. We can't do that. I said, no, but we can. Because she's clearly, a la Archie Bunker, she's clearly a person that's wrong. And she does stuff that's wrong and says things wrong. And they kept it. And that's such a tricky balance always, isn't it? Because we have to evolve.
Yeah.
And something can be ha-ha, and then like a year later, it's like, oh, we can't do that anymore. But anyway, that was interesting.
But I feel like that is the hallmark of Norman Lear's work, is sort of like, if the jokes are character driven and if the jokes are smartly written, then it's clear who is the ass in the conversation, and it's not stupid comedy. And that's what ages well, even when there are like tough conversations or things that are obviously no longer, things that are passé.
We knew that Archie would never win an argument. He was always wrong. But the beauty of that show was everybody loved it because there were people that thought Archie was right, and they loved him for that. And then there were the rest of us that were going, what is the matter with you? You're terrible. You're racist, you're a misogynist, you're all those things. But Archie never won. That was kind of cool, and we could see it.
Shifting gears to something that we love to talk about, which is, of course, Marc Cherry's Desperate Housewives.
Okay.
You starred as Orson's first wife, Alma. You also recurred on his Lifetime series, Devious Maids, as Olivia, Michael's slightly unstable ex-wife. Both of these shows have created these universes where amazing character actors get to do wild, wild material. So on Desperate Housewives, for our listeners, we're just going to do a laundry list. You drugged and raped your husband, Kyle MacLachlan. You faked your own disappearance. You got hit in the face by Marsha Cross. You trained a parrot to say something that sounds incriminating but isn't. You got locked in the attic by Dixie Carter. You frame your husband with a bag of teeth. You fall from the roof, spoiler alert, to your death.
I didn't remember all that.
You have 8 episodes, and that is packed into 8 episodes. This is the glory of the show. So there's a lot of talk about the Desperate Housewives set, but can you tell us about, your best day on Desperate Housewives? And also, did you do your own stunts?
Oh, no. And in fact, the stunt woman, okay, so, when the spoiler alert again, when I'm to fling off of that roof, they built a whole roof for me that's on the ground, right? So I got to do that part. But I had to watch my stunt double do it first from the real roof. And she was amazing, falling into one of those big old bags, right? But it was suddenly a case of the actress had to kind of match the way the stunt double was doing it. I thought, well, this isn't right, but okay. So I flailed my arms like her and whatever. You asked me what was a favorite sort of thing?
Yeah, like what was your best day on set? Who were your buddies on set? Like what was the vibe there?
It wasn't very buddyish at all. I don't know if it was the nature of the part, that I was a rival for Marcia or whatever. It was fine, but it wasn't like Powers That Be where I got along famously with so many people. I felt a little more alone. That's all. I got along fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that Alma fell from the rooftop so that Lana Harding could run. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like Alma, like there's like a glimmer in your eye that I'm like, oh, I never would have like pegged you as this mean character, but like it's parts of her that I'm like, I see it now.
Okay. Well, and yeah, and the outrageous part too, right? That I don't know if we've ever seen a girl rape a guy on TV since then. That was pretty
groundbreaker, Marc Cherry.
So what did I do? I gave him Viagra.
You gave him Viagra and some sort of like sleeping pills.
Yes, so that it was
like a
there,
roofie, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then Marcia Cross comes in and sees the whole thing, and then she hits you across the face. Oof.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right.
And then you show up as a ghost. You come back as a ghost for the series finale. Worth mentioning.
Yeah, that's kind of cool that all of us dead characters came back.
Yeah, what was that day on set?
That was fantastic. Because we didn't have to do anything, no lines. So it's like, I'll have a cigarette and sit at craft service. I don't smoke, but anyway, that's my go-to relax thing. I met Justine Bateman because she was also one of the dead people.
Oh, I forgot
Justine
about her on that show.
Is like
okay,
the coolest chick. She has such gravitas. She was talking about she was going to UCLA. She was learning code. She wasn't acting anymore at that much. Yeah, really smart. And then years later, I'm in Barnes and Noble and I see this little red book. I have to have bookstores. I hope they don't go away because then I navigate and I say, oh, what's that? And it was a book called Fame by Justine Bateman. She nails it exactly. I have a little taste of what she had. She became a star when there were 3 networks, right? And so if you were famous, you were super famous. And then she describes how people kind of get mad at you if you don't maintain that. You guys, I highly recommend it. And I highly recommend you talk to her. She might get mad at me for saying that. She wouldn't remember me probably. But her book pegged it perfectly. I've had neighbors walk by and say, why haven't I seen you on TV lately? Like it's my fault that I didn't keep up the fame to their satisfaction. It makes you feel terrible.
Okay, you're nominated for an Independent Spirit Award. They can fuck off.
Well, but that's recent. I mean,
That's terrible.
During a lull, say, like you planned it that way. Why haven't I seen you?
Sure.
Well, I don't know. You perhaps should call the network and, I don't know. But it's hurtful.
I think she just wrote another book called like My Face or The Face, and it's about like the pressures of plastic surgery also in like Hollywood and also just in like present day. And it's about how someone was like, why do you look so old? And she was like, do I? And then she started to have this complex about people saying, like, you look old, because she was like, I felt like I looked good, but now I feel like I'm supposed to get like plastic surgery or get Botox because that's what someone told me. Someone said, like, you should get some Botox. And she was like, oh. Yeah. So I think she seems like a cool person who is talking about these things. She's
totally cool. I was so happy to meet her.
You are an actress with a massive list of television credits. I will name some others. The United States of Tara, Monday Mornings, The Man in the High Castle, ER, The Client, Heart of Dixie, Glee. But like so many actors that we love, you got your start in the theater. And, you know, you were Lucy in Dracula on Broadway opposite Raul Julia. You were in the original Broadway cast of the little-known musical Fearless Frank. Your Broadway debut was in Rex, which I own the vinyl to, the Richard Rodgers, Sheldon Harnick musical about Henry VIII, also starring Glenn Close. You did Top Girls at the Public. You won an Obie for Talking Heads off-Broadway in 2003.
And Top Girls also won an Obie for that. It's not written down properly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I have two of them.
Thank you.
And I saw that somewhere and I was like, wait a minute, I got one for that show too.
Thank you for correcting it. We are going to fix the internet.
Yeah, you fix the internet for me because I don't know.
But, you know, we love that you have this theater pedigree and that you've come back and done the theater even after you've had, you know, film and TV success. Are there any theater roles you are particularly still interested in tackling at this stage of your career?
You know, I've never been that actress that had, that's not entirely true. But when I was an ingenue, I got to play those parts. I played Juliet twice, and I got to do a lot of that. But when anybody would ask me that question, there's nothing particular. It's when it drops in my lap is when I go, oh, I want to do this. So I don't have a plan, really.
Is theater still like in your bones? Would you come and do a play?
Oh, yeah. You know, as we get older and we have dogs and we have children, although mine is grown now, but our lives get a little more like, oh, it's got to be worth it. I love New York so much. That's my town. That's where I started. Yes, I want to, but do you know what I mean? It has to be worth it for me to uproot myself, and I hope my agents aren't listening. They know that it has to be worth it. They know.
Can you tell us a little bit about Rex? Because it is sort of like a favorite fascination of Damien and I's.
Oh my goodness, I can't even believe you're bringing that up. Okay, I'm brand new to New York, and I am a dancer. And I didn't have my equity card yet, and I went to the open call. It was just like the musical chorus line. And I had to figure out a song to do. So it's an open call, and there are hundreds of dancers. And then it gets whittled down to the callbacks. And it's so exciting because you see people falling left and right because they're eliminated in front of you. And I had just been doing a play off Broadway. And this wonderful man who has passed away now, named Bob Christian, said, Valerie, if you have a small voice, then if you're singing for them, be careful. Go stand out on the lip of the stage so that your sound doesn't go up into the flies. Go stand at the edge and sing. So I went out there to sing for Sheldon Harnick and Richard Rodgers and everybody. Sang my little song. And then it got whittled down. I'm just telling my part of how exciting this all was.
Yeah.
And then just like in chorus line, we're in a line on the front of the stage, and they were going to hire 4 singer girls and 4 dancer girls, but we all had to be able to do a little of both, right? And I'm standing next to some gal, Jo Spiros, I think was who I was standing next to, and she goes, "It's looking good." I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" And I'm brand new, like, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Because the 4 of us are here, and then it looks like that's an alternate over there." And I'm telling you guys, that was the most excited getting the job in my life. I thought, I'm going to get mugged on the subway. I was so like, And so I was a dancer. And then later in the show, because they were rewriting it out of town and stuff, and I remember and this was so unfair to the other girls, but I'll tell the story anyway. So they were writing in a scene for Henry VIII, for yet another of his wives to be there. So they had, us ladies of the chorus, and one of us was going to get to be that wife. It was so unfair, because he actually wrote in Catherine Howard, a beautiful young woman, possibly Valerie, on the sides. So I'm so
You felt confident about it.
pretty confident. And also, I was raised in England for a long time, and so my English accent was perfect, and I kind of knew it, and like, oh, I've got this. But that was so unfair. A beautiful young woman, possibly Valerie. Oh,
I love it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, Valerie, we have reached the point in the show that we like to call the rapid fire. It's rapid for us. You can take as much time as you need. It just allows us to do non sequiturs and get in all of the extra stuff we didn't get in before.
okay.
Valerie, in 1986, you appeared in the 4-hour miniseries Fresno, which was a send-up of shows like Dynasty and Dallas with my faves, Carol Burnett and Dabney Coleman, and a recent topic of conversation on this show, Charles Grodin. Apparently, people didn't seem to get that it was a parody the first few times that they screened it on television, and so the third time that it screened on TV, they actually added a laugh track. Did you ever see the completed project, and who was your buddy on set?
I did see the completed project. How could they not know that it was a spoof?
It was so good. It's got an insane cast. It's all online. All 4 hours are online.
Are they? Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I just have to say, throwing a drink in Carol Burnett's face, there have only been two people that I'm kind of like, oh my God, they are such... Carol was one of them. So I went and practiced on a statue. I was like, so I didn't have to do it too many times to her. And Clint Eastwood, when I saw him in person, I was like, oh my God, it's you. But anyway, yeah, I had such a ball on that show. Carol and I both cried when it was over. We had such a good time.
How was she as a co-star? Was she sort of like top of the, she was the head of the ship, captain of the ship?
Oh, Carol is in the trenches with all of us, the sweetest woman alive. I think she gave diamond earrings to her makeup people. I swear, something like that.
I love it.
Just the loveliest woman on the planet.
Okay, we're digging into the archives on this one. Valerie, a New York Times profile from 1983 lists your boyfriend at the time as an actor whose most recent credit was the off-Broadway production of Little Shop of Horrors. That production is very important to Damien and I, so can you tell us, please, who was that actor boyfriend?
Frank Luz. He was the dentist.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just needed to confirm. Okay.
Yeah, he was great in it, wasn't he?
Yes.
He was just great.
Okay, Valerie, you play a Stanford admissions administrator in an episode of Hannah Montana where you got to meet both Miley and Hannah Montana. Is the energy on a show with a child star better or worse, or adjective, than a show led by like a movie star?
It was sort of the last season, I think.
Oh, okay.
And Miley was so polite. She's a really kind of a lovely Southern child. I don't know her now, but she was nothing but great. And I was, my daughter was littler, and I was in the mother mode of, are you going to go to university? Like an idiot. And she's like, I could see her in her mind like, no, I kind of got this huge career going. But she was terrific. And a little click beyond being a little kid at that point. Do you know? Mm-hmm. She had a good sense of herself.
Yeah.
And I liked her.
Okay, you were somewhat in cahoots with Dixie Carter on Desperate Housewives and played assistant to Delta Burke on Women of the House. Those two big personalities notoriously feuded while playing sisters on Designing Women. So, Valerie, we ask you, who did you find to be a more gracious co-star?
Pretty equal. They're very different women, and I was sad. Dixie died shortly after. What did I do again? What's my resume?
It was Desperate Housewives.
Thank you. Yes, and that made me sad because
she locked you in an attic. You'll remember.
Yes, damn her. Yeah, that's right. I can't compare the two. They're very different.
Okay, Valerie, you star in the Disney live-action film Jungle to Jungle. Personal favorite. You play Martin Short's wife and Lily Sobieski's mom. In the grand finale of the film, you tackle a gangster and then take a blow dart to the head from one Tim Allen. So the question is, what was the fake blow dart made out of? Because Anne told me it was CGI, and I told her impossible. It was not of the time.
You are correct. And that is a great story. So it's like 11 o'clock at night for some damn reason. And I've been there all day, and suddenly that bit's coming up. The makeup artist is sticking the blow dart to my head with some kind of putty and blending it in, and there's a string. And then I'm told, now, Valerie, we can't have Tim blow it at you, or anybody else blow it at you, because you lose an eye. So you're going to act in reverse. I acted in reverse. God. So I don't know if I've had to do that before or since. Can you imagine? So it's That's there, insane. And you're like this, I guess. And then I had to act in reverse.
That's too much to ask. That's too much to ask.
I need to go back and rewatch it now with this knowledge.
Look, it's a trick of the trade. We're going to put that video of that blow dart scene online so people can see the reverse acting that you did.
Oh my God, that is so
impeccable.
That is
impeccable.
Cool.
Isn't it funny that I happen to have a story about that moment?
I'm so glad you do. It's one of the great joys of this podcast.
Valerie Mahaffey, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Folks, please go out and see French Exit. Valerie's incredible in it. Go support movie theaters if you feel safe. Otherwise, wait until it's streaming. Spend money on it. Go see French Exit. Valerie, thank you so much for coming on the show.
I had a blast. Thank you, guys.
In preparation for the interview, I get a text message from my good pal, Anne Rodeman, and she was like, oh, I need you to watch this scene in Jungle to Jungle. Valerie gets hit with a blow dart. And I was like, oh, yeah, of course I remember that moment. I need to go rewatch it. And you said something like, I guess it was CGI. And I said, impossible. It was early
timeline.
90s. The timeline wouldn't. And you were like, I don't know. And I said, well, there we go. That's a question. It's built in. So to hear that full story about reverse acting, and may I give a PS, which is a couple weeks later, Anne and I were watching a clip of Solid Potato Salad, which is this group of sisters that are doing a contortion act. And while we watched it, Anne exclaimed after the Valerie interview, she just looked at me. She looked into the room and said, is this footage going backwards?
I feel like I learned a trick of the trade from Valerie Mahaffey. She was also, unfortunately, because, again, this is audio, not video, but Valerie, did the backwards acting into the Zoom for us. It was so good. It's a lot to ask of an actor. But yes, check out Solid Potato Salad if you haven't. Valerie was just kind of so dreamy. It's great because Damien and I, last year, the year before, we were texting about Dead to Me. And then I got a chance to see French Exit, which, again, you got to go see it, folks. It's a great turn for Valerie. It's a great turn for Michelle Pfeiffer. Lucas Hedges gets plenty of time. He doesn't need our time on our podcast. Please go see French Exit. Also, here's a thing I wanted to correct the record on. We mentioned Fresno, which was the miniseries that Valerie Mahaffey starred in with Dabney Coleman and Carol Burnett, two people I love. I had spoken...
And Charles Grodin.
I'm getting there. I had spoken slightly ill of Charles Grodin for no good reason on this podcast. As I had mentioned a few weeks ago, I saw Beethoven for the very first time, and I just said there was something about Charles Grodin that never rubbed me right. Now, I had no real good reason for this. Sometimes I like to hate things for the sake of hating them because it's funny. But I'm going to tell you, I got a DM from Amy Tedesco, friend of the show, friend of the fam, and she told me this story about Charles Grodin, and so I just wanted to share. Amy met him about 15 years ago when she auditioned for an equity reading that he was directing. She grew up loving Beethoven and Heart and Souls, the Robert Downey Jr. bus movie, which I also loved, so she was super nervous to meet him. She says, he gave off a very warm dad energy in the room, and he took me, a 20-year-old, reading for a snarky 15-year-old very seriously. He asked me questions about studying the Meisner technique and if I had found my support system of fellow artists in NYC. Oh. I read the scene once, he gave me an adjustment, and I did it again. I did not get a callback, but I've never forgotten the audition. Amy, you've changed my mind on Charles Grodin. I'm a forever fan. What a generous director he was to this young actor. Good on you, Charles Grodin.
Oh my
Alive.
God. Well, thank you for that, Amy Tedesco. We do appreciate it. Folks, what Amy is doing is what we hope you all will do, which is engage with us on social media and tell us who you want us to interview. Set the record straight. If we are talking shit here about a man you love, then get into our DMs and tell us why we should love them. You know, we want to thank Rich the Bear. We want to thank Beverly for their shout outs, for their very thoughtful reviews.
We know we're a little bit of a broken record over here, but truly the best thing you can do is tell your friends about us and have them, if you've already done it, leave us a 5-star review on the Apple Podcast app. A few words will suffice. It really does the most for boosting us up and making sure that we get seen in people's eyes and in people's ears. So thank you for taking the time, those of you who have done it. And if you can harass people in your life to do the same, why not?
Okay, folks. So you know that we have been doing this thing all season where we connect this week's guest, Valerie Mahaffey, to next week's mystery guest. Without telling you their name, we are giving you some breadcrumbs. So here goes this one. See if you can put it together. Valerie currently plays Christina Applegate's mother-in-law Lorna on Netflix's Dead to Me. Christina Applegate stars in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, a personal favorite of mine and Anne's. It's one of the only DVDs I have with me here in New York of like the 700th that I bought at some point. It's a very important movie. So Christina Applegate stars in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead with next week's guest. Full stop. No convoluted whiz, waz, mizmaz.
Was it the 1996 revival of Chicago? No.
No, that's it. That's it, folks. So put your thinking caps on. Shoot us a line if you think you figured it out. And giddy up, because it's a fun one.
Friends, frenemies, please follow us on social media. We're at Damian Bellino and at Rodeman. That's RODEMANNE. Just, find us online. Might know her from is produced by us. That's Damian Bellino and Anne Rodeman. We two folks sitting in your ear holes right now.
We also want to thank our consultants at Grumpy Entertainment. That's Jason Jude Hill and Daniel Sears, and all that silky smooth oat milk editing you hear is also by the great Daniel Sears.
Special thanks to Gang. All that music you hear underscoring each and every episode of You Might Know Her From is by Gang. You can download and stream Gang wherever you listen to music. And hey, babies, do you know that I spend a lot of time on the show notes? Because I do. I spend a lot of time linking out material because I'm just going to give up the ghost here. So when Damien and I were in the thick of our burgeoning friendship, we were listening to Julie Klausner's podcast, How Was Your Week Nonstop, and it didn't have show notes. I loved it, but it didn't. So I was making my own. Whenever she would reference a book or a movie I hadn't seen or a name I didn't know, I would keep it in my notes, and then I would send it to Damien or he would send it to me, and then we would look it up. So I thought it would be nice for anybody that lives and breathes the way we do, which is a little bit psychotically. You might find the show notes helpful, so get into them if you're a person like us.
I've been wondering if they're going to do a Real World Los Angeles reunion, because I feel like to me that season wasn't important, but I'm like, do other people care? Like Tammy Roman is still a star, but I was like, Dominic? Would Aaron come back? I looked Aaron up once on LinkedIn because he's works in I think he works in the Bay Area in finance or something. But I was like, I would love for this.
And then of course there's Beth and other Beth.
There's Beth, and then there's lesbian Beth, and then there's Beth who's still on MTV. There's also Irene, who was a cop and left early to get married.
Oh my God!
And John the Cowboy, who I was
true story.
I was not into him.
I'm going to tell you, I think a lot of real world people think that it goes right from New York to San Francisco, but LA is in between. And because you are a purist like me, I agree with you that we should have the LA reunion. Tammy Roman with her mouth wired shut, her jaw wired shut.
All she wanted to do was eat a taco.
Fucking David pulling the sheets off of her. Look, it's a great season.